Algarada stuff. Wanted to get back to this. I was talking about architectures, the architectures that you're born with, you're born into, the environment, and cultural. And there was one other that I left out as rather significant, and that is political, or command and control of the tribes. I was watching a little film clip set in Africa, and it showed the king of the jungle, Lion King. And a particular group of lions, there's always one Lion King. And he has to fight off imposters who think they're going to be the Lion King, and he has to, but he's the king of the tribe. And in humans, we've always had leaders, tribe leaders. Sometimes in some cultures they're the elders, and other times, like culture can be like dictatorship, and we have plenty of those around the world. We have democracies, which involve lots and lots and lots of leaders. In the United States, we have leaders down at the local level, at the city and school boards, and then we have county leaders. Then we have state leaders, representatives and senators and governors. And at the federal level, we have the president, vice president, representatives, and senators again. We have lots and lots and lots of leaders. We don't have just one Lion King. Some countries, it's kind of, I thought about it today, it's kind of interesting that it's centralized versus decentralized. And one time, all computers were giant things, and they were centralized. And then over time, they got terminals added to them, and but it was still a centralized computer. And then eventually, it got to be a personal computer, and that went decentralized computing. And now it's moving back to centralized again, where it's cloud based, and everybody talks and uses and goes through that. Same way with governments. And why is it an impact on you? There's a big difference on your life depending on the Lion King architecture of your country. In Africa, there's still lots of dictators and pseudo democracies, or whatever you call them. And there are coups and overthrow and tribal conflicts all the time. They haven't come up to some kind of a civilized approach to Lion King yet, and that would have a major impact on you if you were living there. The same is true, like well, the Soviet Union was totally dominated by the government. Like in China, I know there are party officials out in the prefects or the districts or the states, if you will, and they have power locally, but they're also under control of the main Communist Party, and they dictate. All governments dictate various things. Just like right now, the whole kind of arguments over abortion, all kind of arguments over gay and lesbian thing and their rights, and that should be the normal hassle that gets involved in any sort of civilized, organized um, tribe, group, meeting, country, state, anything like that. But it does have an impact on you. And you may agree with those policies or you may not. Consequences of those policies, if they go against some judgment you have, can be dire consequences. For instance, the United States government drafted people to fight in the Vietnam War. You're just 18-year old, just got out of high school, not sure what you're going to do. The government makes a decision for you. They drafted you. They trained you for 10 weeks, whatever it was. And then they sent you off to some country you never heard about to fight an enemy you didn't know existed. and told to hate them and that they're bad people. And anyway, it has a lot of impact on you. So the command and control structure that you live underneath of has a big impact. It has another impact, and I've been trying to research it and still haven't come up with much, and that's in the form of the tax burden that government command and control puts on every individual inside the architecture they live in. In our case, I'll call it the United States of America. And it is states, and there is control at that level, and then there's the federal government. And we have two layers, and they sometimes clash. States don't. We had a big clash during the American Civil War. States thought one way, the federal government or other states, the majority of other states, thought another way, and we fought a war over it. And anyway, the tax burden associated with all this command and control. It's not being considered from a whole. One, federal government doesn't care what the locals do in case of real estate taxes or personal property taxes, or the state does in the way of income taxes, excise taxes, import taxes, export taxes. And I think we're getting to a tipping point where the total tax burden of all of these command and control structures, because each one has a taxing authority. The local people can tax to pay for school systems, for roads. The state has taxing authority because they do other things above and over what a local county or city can do. For example, provide Medicare, Medicaid, um, and do other things that one county or a single city could not do. They do that, like support colleges. They do that in the state. They contribute money to keep state institutions of higher learning going. And then you have the federal government, and they have responsibilities like national security and immigration control, health, national health. They've taken that on. They don't leave that up to an individual state. I mean, yeah, they do, but there is anyway to pay for all that stuff. Each one of them has taxing authority, and they do. And in the end, it's all paid by the consumer. And America is becoming a very expensive place to live, and part of that burden is the tax burden being placed on each individual by all these command controls at various levels up. Not only is it a policy thing that the command and control puts on that has an impact directly on your life. I live in an HOA, and they even have control, say what colors you can use on the outside of your house. I mean, that's an environmental, but it's a separate hunk up here. I want to call it political. It's it's command and control is what it is. You live in a command and control environment. It can be really bad in some places, and some places the gangs run. There's no real governmental function. I mean, police, that's part of your command and control. But in some countries, the command and control has fallen apart, and just gangs control everything. Haiti is currently an example of that. And if you live in Haiti, you're at the mercy of whatever gangs are in your territory or fighting over your territory. But command and control has a major influence. So besides your genetics and the environment that you grow up in, and then the parental environment, and then there's the actual physical environment where you live in the snow or you live in heat or whatever, and abundance of food and all those sorts of things. And then I'm going to add another level, as I said, which is political or command and control. You live under a command and control structure that is for your benefit as well as all the other people under that command and control. So cities and states are trying to do things to help their people. That's the idea. Uh, but corruption is not unknown. In any command and control system, there's always greed and corruption. And that's true in the United States as well. It is less it's more subtle than in some countries, but it's certainly here in all sorts of different forms. And again, like you probably know what you can do and what you can't do, and how well you get along. Depends a lot on who you know. And the more political or those in the command and control structure that you know, perhaps the farther you can stretch some of the things you can do or influence what other people can do by pulling some strings for some of the command and control people that owe you something. That's enough for this. I'll just add it's under the whole architecture's idea. And what architecture is, why am I a white person? That's a genetic thing, but it has a big impact on who I am. My parents are lower middle class. I was not poor. We got along okay. My nutritional levels in that environment were good. Blah, blah, blah. The education, college, blah, blah, blah. Upward, upward, upward. And all these factors come into play about making who you are and what you are today. It's not simply genetics, and it's not simply luck or random draw. It's all these different architectures that you can roam around in. I would advise you pay attention to the political one. We can get into some big trouble. Russia appeared to be going in the right direction for a while. They certainly economically improved their status when they got away from centralized command and control on production. We tend to want to go that way, in that we keep telling producers, we put more regulations on them, more restrictions on them, always with the best intent. Well, other than when corruption comes in and somebody's getting too much, and we have to put some restrictions on you because you're unfair to them. Like we're telling the Chinese right now, you've got excess manufacturing capacity, and that's not good because that means you'll be able to dump a lot of cheap products into the market, and we as U.S., our competitors will not be able to compete because you got all this excess capacity. Isn't it kind of strange we can tell another country that, hey, we don't like you being able to produce a lot of cheap gadgets because that means we can't make them here. That's what we do a lot. We don't do what we say, we just tell other people how to do it. That's always how it has been. The powerful control and dictate, and they see it a certain way, and everybody else has to pay attention or suffer the consequences. Anyway, command and control. There you go. Another architecture which you live in, which has impact on you. And today is the 6th of April, 2024. And I've been busy doing other things, and there's a couple other videos I think we're going to have up soon, but that's it for today.